Welcome to Baking with Frank. Frank Rush was a baker at the turn of the 20th century at the Uffelman Baking Company in Cincinnati, and then at his own bakery in Newport, Kentucky. Frank was also my great-grandfather. Through his handwritten batch-sized recipe book, I'm breaking down his recipes and getting to know him better. I'm Tom Mattingly, and this is Baking with Frank. Welcome back to Baking with Frank. So, yes, I am wearing multiple layers here. It is April and still freezing in Ohio. So, we work with what we got. Anywho, thought it might be a good time to try another rye bread. We'll, get to one that we like that we'll call Frank's eventually. But this one is from the Jewish Kitchen, jewishkitchen.com. I've tweaked it a little bit just for my own taste, but that's where the source is coming from, so kudos to them. So what we've got is, while I'm doing this, you could be hitting that like button or that follow button, just saying. We've got a cup of warm water going right in, just like that, and a pack of yeast. See if I can get that to open here. And a pack of yeast. There we go. We're going to pour that in and just let it spiral around a little bit until the yeast dissolves. Make sure we got every bit of that out of there. I don't think that's quite deep enough. The hook's not really getting there, so I'm going to do this instead. That's working better. I've been storing this yeast in the freezer because I learned from my dear friend Lee that yeast will go bad. So hopefully we've not had that happen. And our yeast will be healthy and everything will be good. All right, we're going to call that good. You can only do so much, right? All right, so to this, move that back up, and I'm adding 1/2 cup of dark molasses. As we learned earlier, the color comes from the molasses when you don't drop the whole thing in, like I just did. So, all right, let's do this. So that's a sticky mess now, as are my hands. So I'm going to let that spin for a minute and wash my hands. So this is one of the places where wait, look at me. It's one of the places where I diverted. So, recipe said 1/2 tablespoon of onion or caraway seeds. Don't have caraway seeds. I do have dried onion, but I also put in a teaspoon of that, and I put in a teaspoon of roasted garlic powder. So, we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, back to this. I just seem to want to hit that thing today, Whatever. All right, and we have 1 3/4 cups of rye flour. Going in. A tablespoon of butter. I did soften that a little bit. since this is a modern recipe, right? I haven't been as diligent about that. And 1 3/4 cups of bread flour. The recipe I'm using asks for all-purpose flour. I happen to have bread flour, and it is bread, so I'm just going with the marketing. And 1/2 tablespoon of, it asks for kosher salt. I happen to still have some of that smoked salt, so I'm going to put that in there. Because I think it'll be delicious. Scrape that down there so that we're getting everything in the middle. This seems quite dry at the moment, but hopefully that'll improve. Already improving. So that makes me happy. Now, they also recommended that you hand knead this for 10 minutes. Not going to do that. I have a machine. Why would I do that? Okay, so that's about 6 minutes. Dough is doughing, I'm assuming, which I know is a big thing to do, but since it was worked with the thing and not by hand, it's being worked faster and therefore more efficiently, because that's what faster means. So we're not going to do it for quite 10 minutes, but yes, that absolutely was a spray of baking spray that you saw happen there. I'm going to do another one just for good measure. And we're going to put the dough in the bowl, turn it around to coat it with the oil best we can, like that. And then we're going to cover it, and we're going to put it in a warm spot, which in Ohio right now is not an easy thing to find, but for about an hour. And we'll be back. All right, so we didn't rise very much. So we're going to punch it down, punch a little bit of air that's in it out of it anyway. And then take the bread bowl here. First time I've ever used this. We've had this for, let's see. Jessica gave it to us in 2016, so it's been a hot minute. Not sure I've ever used it. Put a little bit of flour in there. Make sure it gets up around the sides. I'm going to take this out of there, reform it into something like a dough ball. Didn't quite mean for it to do that, but we are where we are. And we're going to follow the same procedure here. Cover this one up. Another hour. All right. So we just came out of the oven, proofing. And, I'm not mad at this. It's not as big as, I would expect for a loaf, but I don't know what size loaf they were making. So we're preheating the oven to 375. We'll cover this back up so it doesn't cool off while we're waiting. I'll show them in the backyard. Anyway, and then we're going to bake it for about 50 minutes at 375. Come back and see. So not exactly what we were looking for, but it smells good. We're gonna let it cool, and then we're gonna have some bread. All right, there she is. Turned out better than I expected. I mean, that's a little much, but bread's a bread, right? Let's cut her inside. Let's see what we got there. Smells good, looks good. A little touch of butter, because butter makes everything better. All right, let's give it a run. Well, it tastes as ugly as it is. It's not terrible. It's not spectacular. Tastes a little burned, but it's not burned. I'm gonna finish it, to be clear, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep looking. One day.